Hi, this is Dr. Worthy, and I wanted to explain a little bit about the difference between positive and negative reinforcement because students often get this confused. Let's start off with talking about the definition of reinforcement. So here's the definition of reinforcement. Something that always increases the probability of the target behavior. So remember that whenever you're talking about reinforcement, you're talking about increasing the probability, increasing a behavior. So that's the first step in understanding the difference between positive and negative reinforcement. Now, when you talk about positive reinforcement, you are talking about adding some type of stimulus to a situation. So putting something in, giving something, that is positive reinforcement. When we talk about negative reinforcement, we're talking about removing some type of stimulus, taking away a stimulus. Now, negative reinforcement is something that we don't think about very often. And so when we try to describe it or give an example for it, a lot of times students think it's more like punishment. But it's not punishment at all because punishment always decreases a behavior and reinforcement always increases a behavior. So let's talk about two examples. An example of positive reinforcement. So let's say a neighbor teenager comes over and just because they feel like it, they cut your grass. Or they were cutting their own grass so they decided to cut your front lawn too. And let's say out of the kindness of your heart you said, hey man, here's $5 or here's $10. Then by doing that, by adding that stimulus of $10 or $5, I guarantee that they are more likely to come back next week and ask if you need your grass cut again. So what are the elements there? Target behavior is grass cutting. The stimulus you added was the $10, and you were increasing the probability that they would come back again to cut your grass. All right, so here's the more tricky one, negative reinforcement. So let's say I have my kid is leaving their socks on the floor. So my response to that is to nag and whine and complain and nag them about picking up their socks. Well, they pick up their socks because they want me to stop nagging. They want me to remove the stimulus of nagging. And I want them to increase the target behavior of picking up their socks. So let's hope that the next day, just to avoid me nagging them, they pick up their socks. So that would be an example of negative reinforcement. Target behavior is picking up the socks. We want that to increase. I have applied nagging and removed the nagging, right? So that's the important part. The removal of the nagging is what reinforces them to pick up their socks. So hopefully that's a little bit more clear and you can come up with examples of your own.